Today I experienced one of the greatest disappointments of my life. So, as anybody who follows me or knows me personally knows, I really want to go for a PhD and I really want to be a scientist. If somebody doesn't know that about me, then they don't know anything about me. And so I interviewed fairly recently for a PhD, and I was hoping I'd get in. My odds were good. They had 20 students they were interviewing. There were going to be 16 offers for 8 slots. And I was already having, emotionally I was already having the day from hell. I'm kind of having to learn the hard way that you can't convince people who don't want to be convinced on things. So I was trying to explain the difference between an honorary degree and an actual earned degree to somebody, and they either couldn't understand or didn't want to understand. But this is an older relative who probably still sees me as the 10-year-old boy I used to be, and not as not as the grown man that I am. And she was commenting on the previous video I made about Bill Nye. So hey, showing my relatives are watching my videos. But that was rough. And then I was also hit hard by my bank, and so it was just several other things happened. So it's amazing that little things adding up can be harder than one big thing, and I think most of us have experienced that. So when I got this news, I was very disappointed. I was very heartbroken. I got the email saying, hey, there's a status update on your application, and I had to figure out how to navigate through this, and it was really complicated. And then when I finally accessed everything, it said, oh, well, we regret to inform you. And I didn't read much farther than that. But the meaning of what happened was clear. And it's something I really put my heart and soul into. But I learned a lot. I learned about CRISPR during my interviews, which is a technology that is fairly new. It's only been around the past few years. So it was around towards the end of my schooling is when the CRISPR revolution really started, but I didn't really get into it very much. I might have heard of it and didn't know how significant it was going to be, so I didn't look into it. So kind of perpetual cycle there. But I definitely learned a lot about it during my interview process, and I think that I would love to work with CRISPR, the latest and greatest genetic engineering technology, during my time when I do go for a PhD. And then after all of this disappointment, I just kind of sat in my car. My mom was there. Thank God my mom was driving me places, because she insisted on coming with me today while I did my errands. And I can drive, but my mom wanted to come with me, so and it was such a rough day emotionally. But then after that, after I got my news, I just sat there, and I just sat in the parking lot probably for a good 10 minutes before I did anything else. Then I had to put on a face for the next hour or so. I don't even want to do anything tomorrow. Maybe I'll make some YouTube videos because I seem to be enjoying this. I'm caring less and less about what people think of my videos. People who don't want to understand things, it's like, you really can't make them so, at this point I'm like, who cares? Not that I don't appreciate people watching my videos, but still. When you have people commenting who don't understand the very, very, very basics of biology, and then want to tell me that I'm stupid, it eventually gets to a point where it's like, why bother? So, anyway, I'm kind of dragging on here a little bit. After all this happened, my very last stop was I had to go to a grocery store. And while I was at the grocery store, I ran into a friend of mine from high school. And it's like, I was like, oh, hi. I said her name, and she said hi back, and she's like, I was gonna comment on your post about Bill Nye, but you're wrong. I was like, no, I'm not. She's like, yes, you are. I'm like, no, I'm not. Bill Nye's not a scientist. He doesn't have, any actual science degrees. And she's like, well, I read, about him having the honorary doctorate. So, maybe she said that. Maybe I'm a little bit confused with another conversation, but I explained to her the honorary doctorates don't mean anything. I explained what they are. And feel free to watch my other videos. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. I basically explained to her what was going on, and she said, you know what, I'm wrong on this. As in, she was wrong on this. And she acknowledged that, and that really made me feel good and have a lot of respect for her, because I feel like these days people really stick their head in the sand and they don't want to know reality, or somehow they can't see reality. I feel like I live in a world where the majority of people... I feel like I live in a planet where everybody where it's a giant mental institution, and I'm the only person who's sane. Now, it's arrogant for me to say yes, but that's not how I see reality necessarily, it's how I feel. And I'm entitled to my feelings. So, it's just how I feel. And I know that sometimes I don't get things too, so don't blame other people. But I was talking to the friend, we were talking about what a scientist is, versus an engineer, and versus other disciplines. And she talked about studying quite a bit of science, going for culinary arts, and I told her it was strange because I thought back in high school she would end up being a history professor. And she said that's what she really wants to do. She doesn't want to work in a kitchen. And so my thought on this whole thing is, and I hope she ends up watching this video, millennials have grown up being told we can do anything we put our minds to. We can do anything. If you want to be anything you want to be, you can go do that. And I saw somebody comment once that, this is a lie. It was a mistake to tell our kids this, because then we expect too much. And maybe that person's right on some things. I think some people want the world to be handed to them on a platter, but all disclaimers aside, or maybe not so many disclaimers, I'm still hopeful. I'm somebody who still believes we can grab life by the horns and tame life, make it come with us. The idea that the world is our oyster, to mix a bunch of metaphors, I still believe this. I'm gonna grab life by the horns. And if life doesn't submit, maybe and granted this is a bull riding metaphor, so don't read into it too much, maybe I'll tear life's horns off and walk away with them until the universe is ready to cooperate. But I look at this and I say, after this happened, one thing that I said was, God is still good. I ended up texting my friends later and I said, I didn't get accepted to this, and I wanted to. I told them I got declined for the PhD work, but God is still good. And I learned a lot in the process. Now, it's interesting, it's revealing, because my biggest faith battle is, will God take care of me? I see in the Bible where it talks about God taking care of his children. Those who are his, he'll take care of them. But then, you also see the martyrdom of the apostles. and you see people in the third world starving to death, and I don't understand how to reconcile that. That is my biggest area of battle with regards to faith. Also, I often doubt that God will give me wisdom where I need it. That God will allow me to wander into sin while I'm being led to believe that His voice is affirming me there. And I know there's idiot people out there who, or maybe I shouldn't say idiot, but very misled people who will say, well, God told me to go do this. Well, how did God tell you to do that? Oh, my feelings. It's like, no, that's not God talking to you necessarily. That's your feelings talking to you. These are two different things. So, I mean, I'm not one of those people. But I do get afraid that God will let me go my own way. And that's one of the faith fears that I have, and maybe I need God reassuring me on that. But I still think that God is good. So I might doubt that He'll take care of me, but I believe He is good. So that's a major battle. One there. I might not be all the way, but I'm coming along. And so I still believe that God is in heaven. I still believe He loves the human race. And I know that ultimately there'll be a new heavens and a new earth. But I still believe this world can be our oyster. And maybe I'm wrong in certain ways. Maybe I'm wrong to love the things of the world. Maybe that's what I'm doing. But what I want out of the world is I want to be able to study God's creation, to make scientific discovery, and perhaps genetically engineer a plant to make new medicines, or to maybe crossbreed some grass so that it can grow in the desert and help people. They can feed the grass to cows, and that could, and of course, grass being there, grass can lead way to bushes, which can lead way to trees. Ecological succession. So, I mean, there's so many things that are out there, and that's my message I think I want to give to my audience. And I really hope my friend is watching. If you want to be a history professor, you go be a history professor. And you don't let anybody stop you. You don't let anybody get in your way. Obviously, don't be selfish about it. Don't shoot somebody, to go get a history degree, obviously. Because these days with the internet, a lot of people, not my friend is brilliant, but, there's people out there who can't use common sense when talking to them. You need 10,000 disclaimers for everything, as per my YouTube comments. So, if you want to be a history professor, go do it. If you want to be a scientist, go do it. If you want to be an advocate for human rights, like real human rights, go do it. The world's your oyster, kids. The world's your oyster, ladies and gentlemen. Millennials, you've grown up. You've inherited the world. Go do it. Go change it. Make it a better place. For yourself and for your children. Thanks for watching this video. This is Greg, out.